All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure to be back.
So you know how we're always saying how important sleep is for, your health and everything?
Yeah, definitely a recurring theme.
But have you ever thought about what it might be doing to let's just say your more delicate parts?
You mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how attached are you to the current size and functionality of your, essential bits?
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Because we've been looking into some research that might make you want to hit the hay a little earlier tonight.
This should be interesting.
Seriously, we're talking about a study that found men who only sleep 5 hours or less a night have noticeably smaller testicles than those who get a solid 7 or 8 hours.
Wow, that's pretty direct.
Right, and before the ladies start celebrating this sleep deprivation thing, it's not just a guy problem.
Definitely not.
It messes with women's reproductive health, too, throws those hormones out of whack, and can even impact fertility.
It's kind of crazy how something as simple as sleep can have such a huge impact on our biology.
I know, right? It's like we're obsessed with all these trendy health things like, avocado toast and fancy smoothies.
Yeah, all the rage.
But we totally forget about the most basic and arguably most important thing, sleep.
It's the foundation.
Exactly. So that's why we're doing this deep dive. We're going to unpack the science behind sleep deprivation and why it's so much more than just feeling a bit tired.
We need to break it down.
Yep, we're talking real tangible consequences and, more importantly, what you can actually do to avoid them.
Knowledge is power, as they say.
So let's jump right in and tackle this whole sleep or shrink situation.
We'll get to it.
Because I don't know about you, but when we saw this research, it definitely got our attention.
And it's hard to ignore.
For real, the studies show that men who consistently get only 4 or 5 hours of sleep, their testosterone levels can actually drop to what you'd normally see in someone a decade older.
That's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, and it's not just about size here. It's about energy, vitality, mood.
Your whole system is affected.
Totally. And it's kind of like your body is saying, hey, we're running low on resources here. Gotta prioritize.
Exactly. It goes into survival mode.
Right. And since reproduction isn't exactly essential for immediate survival.
It gets put on the back burner.
Exactly. It's like your body is saying, look, we'll deal with making babies later right now. We just need to keep this whole operation running.
It's prioritizing essential functions.
And as we mentioned, it's not just the guys who take a hit here.
No, not at all.
For women, not getting enough sleep can really disrupt that delicate hormonal balance, and that can lead to problems with fertility and overall reproductive health.
It's like a domino effect.
Right. So if you're thinking about starting a family or even just, feeling your best in general.
Sleep is non-negotiable.
Seriously, folks, make sleep a priority.
It's not just about how you feel the next day.
It's about your long-term health and well-being.
And speaking of feeling your best, let's talk about what sleep deprivation does to your brain.
Yeah, let's head north.
Because it's not just about feeling foggy or forgetting things.
It's way more than that.
It's like, imagine your brain is a sponge.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And it needs sleep to be dry and ready to absorb new information.
So if you're sleep deprived,
that sponge is already soaked.
And you're trying to cram more in.
And it just spills over, nothing gets absorbed.
It's like trying to learn something new after an all-nighter.
Exactly. Your brain just can't hold on to the information.
And the research backs this up big time.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of evidence.
People who don't get enough sleep have a 40% harder time forming new memories.
Think about that for a second.
That's almost half of what you're trying to learn each day, just gone.
Poof, vanished.
And here's the thing. Sleep isn't just about preparing your brain for learning. It's also crucial for consolidating those memories after you've learned something new.
It's like hitting the save button.
Otherwise, all that information you worked so hard to take in, it's just floating around in your short-term memory, vulnerable to being lost.
Like a computer file waiting to be saved.
Exactly. And without that good night's sleep, it's like you never hit save.
And your hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for forming new memories.
It's like your brain's inbox.
It gets completely overloaded.
All those new memories are trying to get in, but there's no room.
And they just bounce right back.
Like a bad check.
And this can have long-term consequences for your cognitive function.
We're talking about an increased risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
It's a sobering thought.
So not only are you feeling forgetful and struggling to learn new things, but you're also potentially putting your long-term brain health at risk?
It's a domino effect.
Okay, so we've talked about the impact on your, nether regions in your brain, but what about the rest of your body?
We can't forget about that.
Because it turns out that sleep deprivation can wreak havoc on your physical health, too.
It's a whole body issue.
We're talking heart attacks, cancer, a weakened immune system.
The research is pretty clear on this.
It's like an accidental global sleep study happens twice a year.
You're talking about daylight saving time.
Exactly. When we spring forward and lose that hour of sleep.
Heart attacks spike by 24%.
Crazy, right? And then when we fall back and gain an hour?
They drop by 21%.
It's not just heart attacks either.
No, it affects everything.
Car accidents, workplace injuries, even suicides.
It shows just how sensitive our bodies are to even small changes in sleep patterns.
And then there's your immune system.
A critical part of staying healthy.
You've got these amazing little soldiers in your body called natural killer cells or NK cells.
They're like the elite forces of your immune system.
They're constantly on patrol looking for and destroying anything that could cause harm, like cancer cells or viruses.
They're essential for keeping you healthy.
But guess what happens when you don't get enough sleep?
They take a hit.
Big time. Just one night of 4 hours of sleep can reduce NK cell activity by a whopping 70%.
That's a huge drop.
It's like your immune system is suddenly operating with a skeleton crew.
Which is why chronic sleep deprivation has been linked to an increased risk of developing various types of cancer.
Bowel, prostate, breast cancer.
The World Health Organization even classifies night shift work as a probable carcinogen.
Because it disrupts your natural sleep patterns.
Exactly. And if all of that wasn't enough to convince you about the importance of sleep, let's talk about what it does to your genes.
You mean our DNA?
Yep, the very blueprint of who we are.
This is where it gets really interesting.
There was this study where people were restricted to only 6 hours of sleep per night for just 1 week.
Just 1 week.
And they found that 711 genes were significantly altered.
That's insane. 711 genes going haywire.
And not in a good way.
Right about half of those genes were ones that promote cancer growth and inflammation.
And the other half, the ones responsible for immune defense, were suppressed.
So even if you think you're functioning okay on 6 hours of sleep, your body is telling a different story.
Your DNA is screaming for help.
It completely debunks that myth of, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves.
Because the truth is, you're actually shortening your lifespan by not getting enough sleep.
The research is crystal clear on this.
People who consistently sleep less live shorter lives.
It's a simple equation. More sleep equals a longer life.
So we've covered the scary stuff, the health risks, the impact on your brain, and your favorite parts.
The nitty-gritty.
But the good news is there are things you can do to improve your sleep.
Absolutely. It's not all doom and gloom.
So let's talk about some practical tips.
Actionable advice.
Number 1, establish a consistent sleep schedule.
Go to bed and wake up around the same time every day.
Even on weekends.
Yes, even on weekends.
Your body loves routine. It helps regulate your internal clock.
That's your circadian rhythm.
It makes it easier to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed.
Number 2, make sure your bedroom is cool and dark. Aim for around 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
That slight drop in body temperature signals to your brain that it's time to sleep.
Think cool and comfortable.
And number 3, if you can't fall asleep after about 20 minutes,
don't just lie there tossing and turning.
get out of bed.
Do something relaxing, like reading a book.
But avoid screens.
The blue light from screens can interfere with melatonin production.
And melatonin is the hormone that helps you sleep.
Exactly. And finally, be mindful of what you're consuming.
Especially in the evening.
Avoid alcohol and caffeine close to bedtime.
They might seem relaxing at first, but they can actually disrupt your sleep cycles later in the night.
It's all about setting yourself up for success.
So there you have it, folks.
The importance of sleep.
It's not just about feeling energized the next day.
It's about your long-term health and well-being.
It's about protecting your brain, your heart, your immune system, and yes, even your,
delicate bits.
So tonight, ditch the late night scroll, put down the phone, and get some quality shut-eye.
Your body will thank you.
And one final thought to leave you with.
Something to ponder.
We're constantly bombarded with messages about productivity and achievement.
The hustle culture.
But what if we reframed sleep as an achievement?
As an investment in ourselves.
Because ultimately, getting enough sleep is one of the most important things you can do for your overall health and well-being.
It's a gift you give yourself.
So make it a priority.
Sleep well, everyone.
Until next time.
See you then.